Alright, so I have a Rev Bit today. This is actually some content that I was going to talk about at Pepperpalooza, but now I get to do it as a Rev Bit here, so even better. So there's a book I'm reading called Quarterlife Breakthrough, Invent Your Own Path, Find Meaningful Work, and Build a Life That Matters. And it's written by Adam Smiley Pulaski. And really, he wrote this book to serve as a guide for anyone going through a quarter-life crisis. So he's targeting it towards millennials. But a lot of things he talks about can actually be used for any time. This light is really bright. I don't know, it's like in my face. But it can be used, these steps that he talks about can be used anytime that you're feeling stuck in your professional career at all. So it's not just useful for a quarter-life crisis. It could be a midlife crisis. It could be a crisis that you're going to have next week. It doesn't matter. And he talks about with the millennial generation how that generation is really getting labeled as the me generation, or they're selfish, they're lazy, they want to do things their way, they don't want to put in the time. But what he tends to talk about is what they're really doing is questioning the idea of the retirement mindset. And what the retirement mindset is essentially in America, you go to school, you graduate, you get a job, you start a career, and you work in that career until you're 65 or until you retire. And if you do those things in that order, you'll have a very fulfilled life. But what we're finding out is this idea of the retirement mindset doesn't actually lead to a really fulfilled life. Over 70% of Americans are highly disengaged in their jobs. 70%. That's a lot of people. And out of that 70%, 1 in 5 of them are actually doing things to undermine their coworkers because they're so disengaged. And so what he talks about in this book is learning to take your mindset from a retirement mindset and go into a breakthrough mindset. And he talks about 10 steps on how you can do this. I'm only going to talk about a handful of these. And so as we go through that, we're going to talk about having a breakthrough to do what we love so that we can find meaningful work. And the first thing he talks about is this idea of stop climbing the career ladder. Careers are just like our life, in the fact that they don't go in a straight line. They change. And when we focus solely on a career ladder, it can actually limit new opportunities, it can limit our risk-taking, and it can limit us from experimenting with new things. And a ladder defines success on someone else's terms instead of our own terms. And they can often make us feel stressed out about the future, which will in return prevent us from taking action. So instead of thinking of it as a ladder with your careers, think of it as a world map. You can travel to any destination that is right for you, wherever you find meaning, wherever you find purpose. And so when we choose not to take action to make sure that we are doing work that we find meaningful, that's when we begin to feel stuck. We feel like we don't know what to do. We feel lost. Am I doing the right thing? Is this where I should be? Maybe not. And so the idea of a linear career path really doesn't exist anymore. And so instead you can think of this breakthrough career mindset, which allows you to figure out your next steps as you go, aligning your actions with your purpose and surrounding yourself by people that will support you and hold you accountable to your goals. So start taking advantage of opportunities you actually want to do, and don't climb the career ladder to nowhere, but build a career that matters to you. And then the next thing he talks about is this idea of, moving past FOMO, fear of missing out. And so FOMO is very real, and when we feel stuck in our professional careers, it can often cause us to feel paralyzed and keep us from taking action to change something. Because we feel that there are too many choices, we feel lost, we don't know what to do next, and we begin to get jealous of our friends. Especially of social media, we can see everything they're doing, all of the accomplishments they're having, and all of the success that they seem to have. But it's important to remember that no one has it all figured out, and that the grass will always be greener on the other side. And so a few things you can do to really get out of that state of FOMO is really start to learn how to express gratitude to the people that you have in your life that support you. And when you start to express gratitude to those people, it helps you not to focus on what you don't have, but rather focus on what you have in your life right now that is amazing and does help you. And you have to stop comparing yourself to other people. And the only way you can do this is really take time and to think about yourself and start figuring out what is it that you really want out of your life. What are those things that matter to you? No two paths are the same, just like no two people are the same. So instead of comparing yourself to someone else, start asking yourself, what makes me tick? Why am I here? What impact do I want to have with the work that I'm doing? And then start listening to your inner voice. What is your gut telling you to do? So often we ignore what our gut tells us to do, which can lead us to a life where we aren't doing meaningful work and we don't feel fulfilled. Filled. It's my country. The other thing he talks about is embracing fear. And this is something we've talked about, but when you can learn how to embrace fear, it can be a tremendous source of positive energy and motivation. And when you have a fear of the unknown, all you have to do is identify, what is it I'm afraid of? It could be giving a presentation. It could be attempting to take a new path. But when you've identified what it is, it allows you to find a way to embrace it by determining, why am I actually scared of this? Do I really need to be scared of this? So when you can embrace it, you can move past it. And if you have a fear of failure, you just think about it. What is the worst thing that could happen if I try this? But even past that, even if I fail at this, what successes would I get from that? So what would I learn from my failures? And then what is the best thing that could happen if I go after this opportunity? And then defining meaningful work. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. So if how we spend our days is how we spend our life, and we spend our days at work, why would we not want to make sure that we're doing meaningful work and doing work that we care about? And so when defining meaningful work, it's important that you define it for you and not for someone else. It should align with your skills and your talents. So you should begin to question, what do I really like doing? What do I really hate doing? What gets me fired up? What impact do I really want to make? And when you determine what meaningful work is to you, it will allow you to flourish and grow at a rapid rate, because you're going to be using the skills that you really care about, that you have a passion for. And one way to do this is to make a list of everything that you consider yourself good at. Then look at that list. On this list, yes, I'm good at this, but I actually don't like doing it. So cross it off. So go through that list, cross everything off that you actually don't enjoy doing. And then you'll have a list of everything that you're good at, that you like doing. And then look at that list. Determine, where do I need to get smarter? Where do I need to grow my knowledge? What skill do I need to develop further? And then create a plan to do that. And then aligning your talent with the impact that you want to make. Nobody has only one passion, one life purpose, or one perfect job. Throughout our lives, as we meet new people, as we travel, as we learn, and as we discover new things, our purposes change and we evolve. So instead of looking for that perfect opportunity or that perfect job, try to find alignment with your motivation for work. Try to find opportunities that allow you to share your personality, your interests, and your skills to make a positive impact on the work that you are doing. And in the book, he has a list of several questions that you can ask yourself to find this alignment and to see if you are aligned with where you're at currently. But a few are, does the organization's core values reflect my purpose? And does my position allow me to share my skills? Will I make the type of impact that I want to make? And is the work environment and the culture the right fit for me? Will it allow me to have a balanced life, both at work and outside of work? And really start digging into, am I aligned where I'm at currently? Am I happy with that? And when trying to make sure that you're in alignment with the work you're doing, get in the habit of telling others what you can offer, what you can do. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to speak up about where you feel that you can make an impact. And then the last step is the idea of a breakthrough, having a breakthrough when you're stuck. Really think about, what is your vision for your breakthrough? Where do you want to be on the other side of this feeling of being stuck? Think of activities that you want to do. Think of where you actually want to spend your time. Think of that goal that you have for yourself. And then set a deadline for that goal, because when you set a deadline, It becomes real. It becomes something more than just a thought or a good idea. And then invest in your breakthrough. And this is the idea of those skills that you have. Take workshops, take classes, read books, do whatever you need to develop the skills that will allow you to do what you're wanting to do. And when we know we want to do something else, we don't do things for two reasons. We don't do them because we tell ourselves we can't do them, or we don't do them because other people tell us we can't do them. And so if you don't think that you can do something, but it's something you really want to do, surround yourself by passionate people that are already doing those things. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend your time with. So it is extremely important that you make sure you have the right circle of friends and the right support system to lift you up. And to always challenge your assumptions. When an opportunity comes your way, whatever you think about that opportunity, just remember that the opposite could also be true. And always stay in sync with yourself. Always remember who you are, the skills that you have, and the impact that you want to make. And look beyond your job title. Finding meaningful work is not about a salary or a job title. It's about the people you work with, the environment you work in, and what you do outside of work. Those are the things that will help you find fulfillment in the work that you're doing. And then you need to redefine success. Success is not necessarily a huge paycheck or climbing to the top of a ladder. It doesn't mean knowing all the answers. Instead, it's starting to ask the right questions and embracing the journey that will get you closer to doing the work that will allow you to make the impact that you want to make.